Tonight, Hollywood's golden couple faces the kind of spotlight they never wanted as Blake Lively stumbles through a public appearance that left the crowd gasping, and Ryan Reynolds is dragged into shocking new allegations that threaten to shatter his carefully crafted nice guy image forever, from whispers of staged photo ops to claims of childhood bullying. The story unfolding right now feels less like a glamorous red carpet moment and more like a scandal unraveling in real time. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear could change everything. You thought you knew about Blake and Ryan, and the cracks in their perfect image are spreading fast. Last night was supposed to be another polished moment for Blake, lively as she stepped onto the stage in New York City to promote her beauty line. Yet what unfolded left many in the audience whispering in confusion and even embarrassment, because instead of commanding the room with the kind of confidence one expects from a Hollywood star, Blake seemed visibly uncomfortable, stumbling through rambling answers, repeating herself over and over and filling the air with awkward pauses as she nervously said, countless times. According to witnesses, her discomfort grew so obvious that she even apologized for turning her back to part of the audience while speaking something few seasoned public figures would ever do. And as if the nerves were not enough, she admitted she dislikes filming videos for social media, especially in the bathroom. Even though her own product line practically requires that kind of content, fans expecting poise and energy were instead met with a star who looked deeply unsure of herself, and the exclusive footage that has begun circulating only amplifies the awkwardness, showing a Blake who is both apologetic and visibly strained, pausing mid-speech, claiming she inhaled dust while nervously laughing it off. And these moments that might once have been overlooked are now magnified because of everything swirling around her and her husband, Ryan Reynolds. What makes this even more striking is that Blake has long been seen as polished, calculated, and ready to protect her image at all costs. Yet here she was on stage, unable to escape. The feeling that she was cornered and exposed. And if the awkward stage presence was not enough, the evening quickly descended into another spectacle outside the venue when Blake engaged in what many are calling a staged fan interaction. As cameras rolled, she was seen surrounded by autograph seekers. But instead of the kind of genuine excitement you would expect from true fans, this appeared to be something else entirely. Sharp-eyed viewers noticed that the so-called fans were professional. Autograph hounds handing her stacks of posters and items to sign, while paparazzi clicked away. The choreography of the scene was impossible to ignore, and it looked less like spontaneous fan love and more like a carefully arranged photo opportunity, meant to generate positive press, even as the cracks in her composure were becoming impossible to ignore. Critics wasted no time pointing out the hypocrisy of Blake positioning herself as the champion of women-owned businesses while simultaneously being accused of shutting down another company that had already been using a similar name, Beauty by Blake, before her own brand launched. This contradiction fed directly into the growing narrative that Blake is less about empowerment and more about control, carefully constructing her empire, even if it means pushing others aside. But while Blake was fumbling her public image, Ryan Reynolds was being dragged into something potentially even more damaging, because new allegations are surfacing that threaten to undo years of work carefully building his image as Hollywood's witty, charming, and endlessly likable leading man. And this is where the story turns from awkward to downright shocking, because the allegations now being shared do not simply portray Ryan as rude at a press event, but as someone with a troubling past that paints a completely different picture of who he really is. Whispers are spreading that Ryan once bullied a childhood friend relentlessly during his paper route. Days in Canada, allegedly targeting a young immigrant kid, making his life miserable with cruel pranks, pushing him into trash cans, and even sabotaging his work. This is not the Ryan Reynolds fans think they know. This is not the smooth-talking prankster. With clever jokes and self-deprecating humor, this is an entirely different image. One that is hard to reconcile with the man who has become a fan favorite around the world. And what makes this story even more chilling is that evidence of these claims appears to stretch back years, with Reddit posts from more than a decade ago describing similar accounts of Ryan's behavior. And suddenly, what once could have been dismissed as a bitter memory now looks like a consistent pattern, one that fans cannot ignore anymore. The timing of these stories could not be worse, because Hollywood insiders are already whispering that Ryan is not himself these days, with the pressure of Blake's lawsuit against Justin Baldoni weighing heavily on his Shoulder's close sources claim that Ryan has been more irritable, less approachable, and visibly frustrated. Snapping at a child reporter during a festival appearance only reinforced these whispers, as fans who once adored him now question whether his nice guy charm was ever real at all. The once unshakable facade of Hollywood's funniest charmer is beginning to crack, and the consequences could be far-reaching, not just for Ryan and Blake, but for the entire carefully constructed image they have sold to the public for years. Because in Hollywood, once the mask slips, it rarely goes back on the same way again. And right now, all eyes are on this couple to see just how much more will be exposed before the final curtain falls. The unraveling of the lively Reynolds image feels almost cinematic in its pacing, as if the perfect couple narrative that once seemed so untouchable is now collapsing piece by piece in full view of the public. And Blake's awkward panel appearance only fueled the fire, because audiences who once believed in her polished red carpet presence are now asking if she ever truly possessed the kind of confidence she projected, or if it was always carefully manufactured. Blake's nervous rambling, her repeated apologies, her inability to project the strength associated with an entrepreneur leading a beauty empire all contributed to a sense that she was playing a role she no longer believed in. And the irony of her avoiding bathroom-filmed content while promoting bathroom products only added to the surreal nature of the spectacle. The staged autograph session outside the event only deepened suspicions, because instead of embracing genuine fan support, Blake seemed to rely on contrived moments crafted for cameras, and this reliance on optics over authenticity is now at the heart of the criticism swirling around her. Meanwhile, Ryan is facing his own avalanche of doubt, and the allegations of childhood bullying have ignited a firestorm of conversation across social media platforms, with users digging up old posts, dissecting every anecdote, and speculating on what this says about the actor. They thought they knew the alleged victim, once described as a chubby immigrant kid simply trying to help. His family with a paper route stands in stark contrast to the Hollywood superstar Ryan has become, and the idea that Reynolds could have once made life miserable for someone so vulnerable has shaken fans in a way few scandals could. It raises uncomfortable questions about whether the charisma and humor that Ryan has wielded so effectively in Hollywood are simply tools honed from years of masking a different reality. The image of him bending down to dismiss a child reporter's question at a recent event only cemented the doubts for many viewers who saw cruelty where once they expected warmth. And when Ryan's team attempted to spin the incident as nothing more than a scheduling issue, it only seemed to highlight the growing divide between the carefully crafted explanations and what the public was seeing with their own eyes. Insiders suggest that Ryan's frustrations have been building for months, ever since Blake filed her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, a move that has not only placed her under intense scrutiny, but has also dragged Ryan into a storm he never anticipated. Hollywood sources whisper that his once lighthearted energy has been replaced with sharp edges. His jokes now carry bitterness. His presence, once easygoing, now guarded and defensive. The man who could once diffuse any situation with a clever quip now appears tense, as though the weight of the scandal is pressing down on him harder with every passing day. What makes all of this so compelling is that the cracks are appearing not just in public appearances, but in the very foundation of how Blake and Ryan built their brand. They have long marketed themselves as the perfect blend of glamour, humor, and family values, with playful social media exchanges that endeared them to millions. Yet, as staged moments and troubling allegations pile up, that image feels more like a facade and less like reality. And the more the public senses inauthenticity, the more ruthless the response becomes, because in the court of public opinion, nothing is more unforgivable than realizing you have been sold. A fantasy. Insiders whisper that Hollywood executives are quietly reevaluating their partnerships with Ryan, unsure if his once bulletproof charm can survive this new scrutiny. And with Blake's business ventures also under question, the couple who once seemed unstoppable now look more vulnerable than ever. What happens when the carefully woven narrative of Hollywood's golden pair begins to unravel in real time? The answer may determine not just their careers, but the very legacy they leave behind. As the days pass, the speculation only grows louder, and the chatter about Ryan's past bullying allegations has reached a fever pitch across online communities, where users are piecing together timelines, analyzing old interviews, and questioning whether His charming anecdotes have always contained hidden truths, because every joke about his awkward teenage years now feels laced with uncomfortable subtext, and every story about overcoming odds rings differently when paired with claims that he once made life miserable for someone who was already vulnerable. The Reddit posts unearthed from over a decade ago only add fuel to the fire, serving as breadcrumbs that point toward a reality that fans never imagined for the actor they once adored. And this comes at a time when Blake is facing her own mounting doubts. Her stumble on stage has become symbolic of a broader collapse in confidence, with even loyal fans admitting that the star they once saw as effortless now seems deeply uncertain and overly reliant on controlled environments to project the image she wants. The staged autograph photos only reinforce that idea, because rather than connecting with her audience organically, she appears to orchestrate scenarios designed to generate press coverage. The more people look, the more it seems like authenticity is slipping away, and the once untouchable couple now look more like players caught in a game that is spinning out of control. Hollywood insiders whisper that Ryan has grown, increasingly defensive behind the scenes, snapping at colleagues, avoiding interactions he once thrived on, and projecting a frustration that is palpable to those around him. And when combined with the swirling lawsuit involving Blake, it creates a perfect storm of pressure, tension, and scrutiny. The narrative that once painted them as playful, glamorous, and deeply in love now feels like a storyline under siege, as each new detail pushes them further into a corner. And as the audience watches this unraveling play out in real time, the suspense grows. Will the alleged childhood victim of Ryan's bullying come forward? Publicly, will more witnesses confirm the stories? Will Blake be able to recover her footing as a businesswoman in the beauty industry, or will her awkward appearances and alleged undercutting of other female entrepreneurs destroy the image she has tried to cultivate? These questions are what make this saga so gripping, because it is not just about a celebrity couple navigating bad press. It is about the collapse of an entire narrative carefully built over years, and now falling apart under the weight of contradictions and revelations. With each passing day, the facade weakens, and the truth, or at least the perception of truth, grows louder in the end. What makes this story so captivating is not just the individual allegations or the awkward appearances. It is the way they intertwine to reveal a larger pattern, a pattern that suggests the lively Reynolds empire may have always been more fragile than it appeared. The Hollywood power couple image was built on humor, glamour, and relatability. But each of those pillars is now shaking. Blake's awkwardness on stage undermines the glamour. Ryan's alleged bullying and recent public frustrations undermine the humor, and staged photo ops undermine the relatability. The result is a narrative that feels increasingly unsustainable because audiences are more perceptive than ever before, and they can sense when something no longer rings true. The whispers about Ryan's changed demeanor, the stories of sharp edges replacing easygoing charm, the defensiveness creeping into his interactions, all point to a man under immense pressure, while Blake herself seems equally strained. Caught between the image she wants to project and the reality of awkward public appearances and controversial business moves, Hollywood thrives on reinvention, but reinvention requires authenticity. And right now, authenticity is the very thing this couple seems to lack. The more they try to control the narrative, the more it slips away. And in that gap between what they project and what people perceive lies the true danger, because once the public decides the mask has slipped, it is nearly impossible. To put it back on, the suspense surrounding this saga is not about whether Blake and Ryan will face another awkward headline, but about how far the cracks will spread and whether the foundation of their image can survive at all. The audience watches closely, because in Hollywood, the fall of the golden couple is as dramatic as any film. And this story is still unfolding, with new twists arriving almost daily. The truth remains uncertain, but the tension is undeniable. And that tension is what keeps everyone watching. The story of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds is no longer just about glamorous premieres and witty social media posts. It is about the fragile nature of celebrity image and how quickly it can fracture under pressure. Blake's awkward stage appearance and seemingly staged fan interaction may have once been dismissed as minor missteps, but now they feel symbolic of a broader struggle to maintain control over a narrative that is slipping away. Her brand depends on confidence and connection, yet both appear to be faltering before our eyes. Meanwhile, Ryan's situation is even more precarious. The allegations of childhood bullying, amplified by resurfaced posts and fueled by social media. Speculation threatened to undo the years he spent crafting the persona of Hollywood's charming prankster. His recent behaviors, napping at a young reporter, showing frustration in public, and being described by insiders as more defensive than ever only deepens the sense that the man fans thought they knew is changing. Whether this shift is temporary or permanent is unclear, but the damage to his carefully built image is already visible. Together, Blake and Ryan represent a Hollywood cautionary tale. When fame, business ventures, and personal struggles collide in the public eye, even the most beloved couples can find themselves under scrutiny that feels relentless. What happens next remains uncertain. Will they recover their footing and reframe the narrative, or will the cracks continue to spread until the empire they built can no longer stand? For now, the only certainty is that the world is watching, waiting for the next chapter, and wondering just how much more of the truth will come to light. And in Hollywood, once the spotlight turns, there is no escaping it.